So I have 3 thoughts I want you to hang on today. I want you to hang on to whom does and should Black Lives Matter. I want you to hold on to that. I want you to hold on to what God are we walking in, because it's that God's agenda that we're going after. That's number 2. And I want you to know what God are we trying to change into. Which one are we leaving and which one are we joining? Now I make no mistake about it, I represent the Lord Jesus Christ. And I represent the Lord Jesus Christ because I've tried a lot of religions. I know people think you don't, but I did. I tried the whole Buddhist thing. I tried the whole Muslim thing. I tried the Jehovah's Witness thing. You know, I even dabbled a little bit in the little Krishna thing. I tried a lot. I tried a lot of things. You know, I did. And I examined them all because I'm not doing anything blindly. Because when the reason you have slogans that pump your feelings up over your logic is because they need blind following. They need blind obedience. I want to know. So I want to know why you're telling me this. Why are we doing this? I'm going to ask it. If I get anything out of my people today, I would like to get you to start asking who gains and who loses and whose side am I on. Hear me, people. I'm taking you on a journey that we need to go on if we're going to be thought leaders instead of chaos breeders. So, here is my challenge to you today. My challenge to you today is, can we be colorless for a moment? Can we go colorless for just a moment? Can we forget black, white, green, blue, orange people? And let's go and just deal with powers. Because powers don't care about color. Powers care about conquest. I was in 2 predominantly black nations over the last couple of years. And I was watching the news in these black nations. And as I watched the news, I saw police brutality, soldiers running amok, I saw inequity, I saw injustice, I saw bias, and I saw favoritism. And as I saw that, this is what Jesus asked me. He said, so now, since they can't blame it on color, who's the culprit? So I'm sitting there. He said, because these are the same problems you have in your country. And I said, that's right, God, I do. He said, but they don't have color as a scapegoat. So where do they look for the source? Where do they look for the problem, the cause? And I'm telling you, people, that stumped me for 2 days. I couldn't give him an answer because I thought, well, gee, I don't know. Their kids were being raped. Their young men were being killed and enlisted in battles and enlisted in the army, illegal armies. They were dealing with all of that and more, and they couldn't blame it on color. So my people, I ask you this question. What do we blame it on if we're colorless? So my question to you is, as thought leaders, we're going to be African Americans. I'm going to get me a thought leading African American group. A group of African Americans who want to lead the thoughts instead of lead the riot. Okay, because we got a lot of riot leaders. But we don't have people who are going to lead the thought and change the world's perception of us. And we can't do that until we change our own perception. Because our perception of ourselves is that we deserve to die. Somebody got us to buy into that, and it wasn't a racial thing because they're doing it in other countries where color is not the scapegoat. So we have to track now. Now let's do some homework. Let's dig into our own genetic. Let's dig into our own nativity and figure out where did the mandate come from that said we deserve to die. Because until we do, any little thing is going to set us off because we are seething cauldron, always waiting for the next tragedy to give us an opportunity to retaliate. Because we don't use our tragedy as motivation to conquer. We use it to retaliate. And we need to change that. Black Lives Matter website. Black Lives Matter is a unique contribution that goes beyond extrajudicial killings of black people by police and vigilantes. This is their website. So it goes way past what we're fighting about now, way past what you all want to riot on now. That wasn't even what they were thinking about. It goes beyond the narrow nationalism that can be prevalent within some black communities, which merely call on black people to love black, live black, and buy black. See, now you all have a campaign for buying black, and they say that's not why they're doing this. You get ready to bankrupt your own little community, and that's not why they're doing it. Listen, get it right. Which merely call on black people to love black, live black, and buy black, keeping straight black men in front of the movement while our sisters, queer and trans and disabled folk take up roles in the background or not at all. Now, if we're talking about Black Lives Matter, why do I have a queer tapped onto my genetic tree? And we need to stop being moved by every power players and power brokers agenda. Stop being the army of destruction. Let's start making a difference that starts with us. I was in the 67 Rock. I lived on off Avon Avenue in Newark in 1967. And of course, given how old I am now, I was young. And I watched the tanks move up and down the streets, and I watched them spin around shooting houses. And the day before the riots, I came home from school, my mom came home from work, and the day before the riots, because there was a signal, and my mother accidentally, literally sat down and talked to the guy who was going to be the signal to start the riot in Newark. And so he was with her on the bus, and he said, ma'am, when you go home, lock your doors and stay in your house because the riots are going to start. Now, they had a line going from California to wherever they ended up, and so they all had a signal, and so they started. So my mother didn't know. She came home, mother scared to death. So we go in. Now, prior to that, we had supermarkets, we had stores, we had the drugstore. The drugstore guy was wonderful because every time you got sick, if you didn't have money, he would still give you drugs. He was a Jewish guy. We had cleaners. We had all kinds of businesses. And in one night, I came out of my house the next morning. Well, we couldn't even come out of our house. It was really a couple of days later, but we had to go to the store. And in one night, we lost our security, our safety, and our supplies. In one night. And in one night, I watched that wonderful Jewish man who had helped my mom and dad and so many other people with medicine be bashed in the head with a brick. In one night, I watched that. And you know what I thought? Well, if this riot was about black people, why is it that we tearing up our neighborhood? See, I'm not a stranger to this. So those Black Lives Matter, but also the credibility and the reputation that we have around the world, we need to change that. Because, see, people are not seeing our causes. They're not seeing our heart. They're seeing our work. They're seeing our outbreaks. They're seeing our raging and ranting. We have got to figure out how to get into the system and be spokespeople. We've got to raise up quality spokespeople. We've got to do it. We've got to do it. So let's set the record straight. If we're going to become energized, and we're going to become invigorated to fight, let's first of all strategize what the fight is and decide who wins. Should we win or should our manipulators win? Should we go to power or should we put our manipulators in power? Who's making a pawn out of us as a people, and why are we too easy, too ready to be made pawns out of? Before we take power this time, we need to get ready to keep it and to participate with it. And you know what else we need to do? We also need to get ready to assimilate ourselves in our country. We need to be ready to make our country great because it's great. No matter how we got here, we're not where we were. And we need to stop saying nothing happened. You know, we're the all or nothing group anyway. No, a lot of good things happen. We have a lot of African Americans who are doing great things. I'm going to movies watching African Americans, and come on now. I'm going to schools with African Americans. I'm going to stores. There was a time before we didn't have that. A lot of great things happen, and we can't assume that the people who are not part of what's the great things are happening have done their best to get there. Don't make assumptions. Some people don't want to pay the cost, and I don't care what race you are, what color you are. Success has a cost, and you've got to pay dues to get it. I don't care who you are. Success costs. So don't assume that just because so-and-so's crying that they're also diligent. Don't assume just because one person is out of work that they want to work. Don't assume that you know the heart of the person voicing the problem. That takes discernment. Black lives blended with queers, trans, and all of the other stuff, that's not your agenda. That's somebody else's agenda. Stop fighting other people's battle. Let's figure out what our agenda is. Let's figure out what our battle is. And let me tell you something, alienation and oppression and all of not going to work for us. We cannot want to get in power to destroy what's been built, because we'll have a whole country full of looking like it did the day after the '67 riots.